with, and how do I make this work? So let's kick it off and go into game number 1, Glory versus DawN. Glory on the Rogue, DawN on the Mage. Ooh,
DawN,
okay, that's a slow one.
DawN has a heavy start. Astromancer's not what you want to see going first against Rogue. Stargazer Luna can be played for tempo. Depends on the state of the hand, but the state of this hand, you might try to play it out for tempo. Maybe if you draw some cheap spells, you try to pair it together with that, maybe on turn 4, but...
And I can outline how powerful or how frustrating it is for DawN to have these Astromancers in the opening hand. Those two are 2 of the 5 cards he cut from the list he would like to play versus Rogue. So actually adding in Rabble Bouncers is the normal, the choice where you make one or the other. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit slow, and did get the...
Played a Magic Trick on 1.
Rift, yeah.
Yeah, something to do on 2, increases your hand size and maybe gives you some playable minions. He does opt to play the Magic Trick on 1. What some players often do is hold it for Apprentice and Cyclone stuff later, but DawN realizes this hand's not doing a whole lot. I'm not going to be comboing a lot of things, so I need to play it now, spend the mana, try to find something to do, maybe find an Arcane Intellect, a Book of Specters, which isn't even necessarily what you want, but something to get this hand kind of rolling along.
Right.
Does play the Astral Rift on 2, gets some Dasta. I'm not sure there is a Banana Buffoon, but I'm not sure if you want that being pulled from your hand.
Imagine if that's the winning play. I'd love it so much.
That'd be interesting.
But still, I think most importantly, it's a card that, 9 mana, very, very expensive, but it does have Rush, and it kills pretty much every rogue minion outside an Absurd Van Cleef, so at least it's just a card that in an emergency can be played to just, kill something if it's, there's one problem in the way.
Glory trying to figure out what the next few turns are looking like. Probably just Dagger. He could coin Raiding Party, but that doesn't let him do anything on turn 3 that he would otherwise be able to do.
And also, speaking of DawN's hand, Glory's hand is not exactly fantastic either.
Yeah.
The coin shores up a few of the weaknesses, but when you just, passing on 2 with not much to do on 3, it's looking a little bit rough. So maybe both players kind of got away with it,
right?
Because each other also had slow hands. It's not too bad, and suddenly Luna does require a response.
DawN knows that if there was a Miscreant in hand, or perhaps a Raiding Party, there could have been a coin to that. So playing up the Luna doesn't give Glory, like a backstab activator to use one of those minions, or the minion or the spell, because he could have already used the coin for that. So playing up the Luna, trying to contest board early, and obviously the payoff can be big depending on what is drawn for DawN off the top. Try to draw some extra cards with Luna, and even if he doesn't, this does require an answer from Glory, and maybe might stifle any early aggression that otherwise might have come out. Coin Raiding Party here.
Into backstab deckhand, I guess?
He could Deadly instead, try to maybe bait out an Ooze. But, I mean, after playing Raiding Party, your opponent knows that there's a Waggle Pick hanging around.
Right. And also right now, the Ooze is the difference between taking 3 and not. So it's not really the most biggest problem in the world to just take the hit from this dagger. There's the Banana Buffoon, which is going to again help with the hand size, and very often is just something to do with some mana in this mage list when you do have awkward hands like this.
Well, the reason it's in this deck, there's several reasons actually. It works well with a lot of different cards. So adding the 2 bananas in hand, it acts as an Arcane Intellect of sorts. You spend 1 card to get 2 cards back into your hand. So when you have a hand with Giant, whether it's on coin or not, your hand size becomes bigger, allowing you to play the Giant quicker and manipulate the mana that way. It can be used with Sorcerer's Apprentice and Mana Cyclone to generate more cards back, and particularly in this list with Antonidas, you can use it to make fireballs, trading some potassium for some fire.
It does. It also just continues to just display something that we've known has been powerful in Hearthstone for a long time, probably mainly down to Discover. But cards that generate cards are normally quite powerful, right? You look at even the way Mana Cyclone works is, well, if you consider these 2 bananas, so 2 cards were made from 1 card, that also then gets you 2 extra cards when combined with a Mana Cyclone. So the value just never ends, and when the hand size is big, your options are big and wide, so it means you can make the most informed and best plays possible. And in that turn, Glory just did use that weapon up and get some pirates on the board. And now it's all on DawN as to how he chooses to defend here.
So the previous turn, actually, I want to point this out. DawN went Banana Buffoon, but didn't let it just die to the weapon. He used Mirror Images to try and protect it. And this way, he might have been able to use the banana or the ping in combination with the Banana Buffoon to clear something that Glory would have developed. Unfortunately, Glory had both South Sea deckhands. The mirror images got kind of swept aside, and the Banana Buffoon died. But it did soak up some damage.
And the small shake of the head and the smile, just seeing the Murloc obviously generate minion.
Glory's like,
natural
I
rift.
guess.
So really now, Glory is the Blood Elf in that cinematic, and DawN is the Paladin just going, throwing Murlocs down, and Glory's just like, come on, they're Murlocs, they're already dead.
So this isn't normally how this game goes. I mean, DawN had some early mana spending that allowed him to kind of, fight for the board, or allowed him to get to a position where he could fight for the board with the Banana Buffoon. And he's at 30 health in turn 5. These Astromancers we were saying, oh, these might be too slow. We're getting to a point where they might just be played and they might be okay. And as I say that, some Dread Corsair comes down, and the Bloodsail Corsair.
Yeah, it's another like wave of pressure, but the pressure isn't insurmountable, right?
Yep.
They're not the most threatening minions in the world for DawN to try and deal with, and that is a very, very timely Mr. Jones.
It's not bad. Yeah.
Can even depend on what's bounced. Use a Ray of Frost on the 3/3.
Yep.
Which wouldn't be too shabby. Yeah, I like it.
Why
not at this point?
Yeah. Either save some health for yourself or make the Harrison harder to kill off.
And again, in terms of just looking at the turn 7 play, Ray of Frost doesn't lose you a card in hand.
Yep.
So you've not lost out any power even in the following turns. You've just potentially gained it with keeping a Harrison on hand.
Astromancer might end up being too slow depending on what Glory does this turn. There are so many options. Life Drinker Viscerate cleanly kills the Harrison while still developing stuff on board. You could sap this. Also, you have another Waggle Pick, so I don't know if you want that. You could just Waggle Pick it down. Save the Viscerate for face. Ziliax lets you clear it as well, but it's just a little clunky, so it's probably not what's going to come down. With the Harrison gone, so there's one Harrison drones and one copy of Acidic Swamp Ooze. So with one of these two out of the way, Glory might say, all right, let's just get the second Waggle Pick online and try to make use of it.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it too much. The only problem here that he has to consider is if you played Waggle Pick and the Ooze was there, then he's in trouble. And the thing you got to think about is DawN's played a whole lot of nothing this game, so cards that Glory could put him on are tech cards, right? You know, the Ooze, he saw the Harrison come out, so it's not too crazy to think that DawN might have the Ooze, because there's probably not a Conjurer's Call in, there's probably not any of the early combo cards because he would have seen them. You know, if there was a
Calling. When you play the Banana Buffoon and try to protect it, that might allude to a Conjurer's Calling,
maybe. Two 5/5s aren't too terrible right now, but Glory's just saying go.
Yeah, you have Conjurer's Calling, you have it. There are some 7-drop taunts, but I mean, Conjurer's Calling is nowhere to be seen right now.
Also, he has like Life Drinker, Shadow Step, Life Drinker, Abyss, which is, that's just 10 damage right there.
Launching the Abyss face
just
now.
A lot, yeah. He needs to do 2 damage next turn, not from hand. And he just wins, and there's nothing DawN can really do about it.
This is actually interesting what Glory did here. Sending the Eviscerate upstairs means that next turn on 8 mana, he could go Life Drinker, Shadow Step, Life Drinker for 6 mana, and Dagger, which would actually only be 7.
Yeah. He needs something to hit, right?
Yeah.
But if one minion hits, he almost always gets lethal outside of taunts, so that's all he's worried about right now. But also, I don't mind you if you're convinced the Eviscerate is always going to end up at face, use the mana now.
Yeah.
Because he might draw Myra's next turn. He might draw, Leroy next turn, for example, that changes the way he might play with that Shadow Step as well.
Rough seeing the deck can get bounced. So the Conjurer's Calling pickup.
Wait, that's good for him though, isn't it?
I think he would have rather had one of the bigger minions.
But it's lethal, right? If he could dagger and there's no taunts.
No, I'm saying DawN was upset that.
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant Glory. I was like, wait, what? That's actually really good for Glory. My apologies. And that's actually just lethal. Wow.
So the Conjurer's Calling gave DawN a way to stop the lethal damage, but unfortunately what's in the box did not have a shield on it.
And you can't, not that it would matter for this turn, but you cannot Ray of Frost face.
Right.
And yeah, that's just, he did draw the Myras as well. See, the Abyss was so sick.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really powerful turn, and this is literally why Life Drinkers are ran in Rogue, is that it's damage that no one can do anything about. your opponent often can't deal with it. It's just Battlecry, deal 3. You can't stop that happening. So Glory takes a game there. It was off to a relatively slow start, but then the game kind of